If there's one sector in India which needs fixing, it's the infrastructure sector. And here in Davos, there's a large contingent of people from the Indian infrastructure space who are here, who are talking to each other, who are listening to global investors, and of course projecting the changed environment to foreign investors as well. Well, financing and finding the money for infrastructure is problematic, and I mean that has not eased up, arguably. I've got with me three veterans of the space who are going to give us solutions as to what needs to be done and if things are actually changing. Atul Punj is chief at Punj Lloyd. Atul, thanks very much for your time. Great to have you here. Ajit Gulabchand, of course, needs no introduction. Chairman, HCC, Hindustan Construction Company, and Mark Spillman is Global Managing Director with Accenture. Thanks very much, all of you. Pleasure. First to you, Mr. Gulabchand. Yes. Are things really changing as far as infrastructure goes? And I understand it's a big word, lots of subsectors in it, but broadly, are things coming back?
See, let's put it in two backdrops. First backdrop is the last year. Last year, there was no interest in India. Nobody was looking at India because everything had gone down, everything was bleak. This year, there's an interest that India seems to be back. Let's take a look at it again. But the actual investment cycle has not yet kicked in. And infrastructure in India needs this investment very badly. So we have to kick this by first clearing up some of the issues that confront the infrastructure industry and the supply chain, construction, etc., whose monies are so locked up and they need to be restructured so that they are once again incapacitated to do new infrastructure, at which time investors will start looking at us as a possible area of investment.
So what you're saying, Atul, is, Mr. Gulabchand, is that the backlog has to be cleared up, right? I mean, some of the things which were...
Yes, there are things that
that's
are clogging,
number one.
Yeah, which is
okay.
Big,
I want to come back to that point. Atul, what's your view?
Well, my view is I agree on top of what Ajit said. I think the banking sector has to relook at the whole infrastructure space.
Okay.
There seems to be a complete lockdown when you hear the word infrastructure, and there's a big broad brush that's being applied across companies and across verticals. So that definitely needs urgent attention. The second is to really attract long-term equity players like pension funds. There's certain tweaking of tax laws, etc., that need to happen to really excite them to really come in. The appetite is there, the opportunity is there. It's just a bit of the tweaking that needs to be done. And the third, of course, very, very important one is the pushing through of the amendment of the Arbitration Act. That we don't end up with companies, Indian and foreign, with large sums of money stuck for long periods of time, then being appealed in higher courts on frivolous grounds, just so that somebody's not questioned as to why he didn't take the obvious next course. So there has to be a realization that companies are required to build the infrastructure. They need to be maintained in a healthy space. And those that have not really been up to the task should be put aside and blacklisted.
What do you think was the problem, in a way, over the last couple of years? I mean, we saw the boom years. Everything did well over the last bull market, right? Infrastructure, of course, was the darling. What really went wrong? Is it just, the global markets collapsed, that's it? And, of course, a lot of projects were unviable, so they were shown up to be what they were in the first place?
Well, I think the issue is that we need to look at predictability. And the key issue, I think, is that if you've got poorly scoped projects with an ill-defined process and not necessarily got the relevant skills, and you've got problems with things like...
In India, as Mr. Gulabchand said, you have to fix the backlog. How much of the backlog is because of poorly conceived projects in the first place? If I were to ask you, what percentage?
Hard to say, but I would say quite a lot of the projects, if they're poorly scoped and you haven't got the project management skills and the processes aren't right, makes it very difficult. And I think what we're seeing is a lot of promise, but you need to put the predictability to underpin the promise. And that's the stage at which India is at the moment. So I think there's a lot of people really looking at where India is at, but you've got to put predictability in there, and that's true of what we've just been saying from the finance side, but it's also true for the regulatory side.
So what you're saying is the common perception that it was the government which really, messed up things, and that's the reason why the sector went into a slump. That's not really true. It's in the first place, a lot of projects were poorly conceived. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I think, but the thing about infrastructure projects is there's no one single party who's at fault, because you have to have multi-stakeholders working together. So you need to have the right skills with the right process, with the right enablement from government. And there's no one single party at fault here.
Thank you for the kindness. But the reality is the government tanked the economy. They stopped all projects midway for some reason or the other, confusing environment with affirmative action and price and compensation, and really and created this horrible retrospective tax law, which blew the trust in the Indian economy away and brought the
But
country
Mr. Gulati,
down.
what he's saying is...
I know what he's saying.
Yeah.
I know what he's saying, and that's why I called him for he's being kind. But I am telling you this is what happened. Okay?
Okay. Yeah, I just spoke with Mr. Piyush Goyal, the Power Minister, a while back, and I asked him, for the power sector, which is very important part of the infrastructure segment, is there going to be a one-time sort of, solution which the government will facilitate for the independent power producers? In terms of, shifting from competitively bid tariffs to, say, a regulated tariff structure. He said, well, the government is not going to do it. All we're going to do is, well, we're auctioning coal blocks. People can come, bid for them, and of course, restart the power plants which they set up in the first place. They're not going to come in. What both of you seem to be suggesting is the government needs to play a more active role. You mentioned banking in particular.
I don't think, when we say we need to play a more active role, we want not too much government in our lives.
Okay.
Our objective is that where we are locked in, to assist, because there are archaic rules that keep us now. Half the NPAs and debts that you're talking about is interest cost, and a very high interest cost. So these are the things that they need to understand, that they are not a natural market economy process. They were created. So let's find a solution by which infrastructure will be
Can you name
financed.
two things which need to be rectified, or maybe
First,
already
interest
been-
rates to be brought down.
Okay,
Where?
but that's. I mean,
What?
You know,
What
there
is
are other
that?
issues. I mean,
What
are
are
we
the
not going to
issues?
cut interest rates
Hey,
to boost
listen.
infrastructure?
No.
That is not my lookout. Inflation is not my.
All right,
My
fair
job is to create wealth,
All
to
right.
invest.
Okay.
I can't invest until the cost of capital comes down.
Okay.
And that can come down only with interest rates coming down by at least 300 to 400 basis points.
Okay.
And that's where IRRs go at 14%, where the investment cycle kicks in. So I want to know what I need for doing my job.
Yeah.
The rest is not my concern.
Okay, number two.
Sorry.
Second point I'm saying is the government must understand that they are substantially responsible, not the present government, for blocking, for not paying people, for changing the rules of the game in the middle of it, for creating tax. Until they give that certainty and they clean up this by paying people, setting this in order, people will be careful. This is not the innocent days of 2002 and 3 where India is growing and let's go there. There are risks, but they want to
I
change.
think we're getting there, aren't we? I mean, we
Well,
can do no wrong, and I mean.
No,
that
no,
can-
we are not
no?
getting there.
Okay.
We now, everybody has burnt his fingers, so they will need more proofs and more clarity
Okay.
before and predictability, which is important.
Right.
And predictability applies to everything. Take a company law. If each section can have 7 meanings, what predictability has it brought?
Okay. Is
This-
that being rectified? Is that being looked at?
Some
Did
of
you
it
have
has been rectified, some of it still remains unrectified. Until such thing, it looks appealing and seriously predictable with a reasonable certainty that 5 years from now somebody will not come and stop me. I think you will get a lot of investment. This is a huge eagerness to come to India, a big market, a big manufacturing possibility for the rest of the world. A whole lot of things are in favor of India. It's only these things.
Atul?
Yeah, I think just to add on to what Ajit has mentioned, a lot of it is being done, and we hope that the rest will also be done. But more importantly, predictability of interest rates and long-term debt has to be made available. You cannot build a country's infrastructure on commercial credit. Nowhere in the world has it happened. And nowhere else in the world did any government try to outsource its entire infra build-out to the private sector based on corporate commercial finance. So you have projects that were bid at an 8% interest rate regime. Overnight they go up 50% to 12%, 13%, and now in some cases 14%. All right? It's impossible to predict the outcome of a project. So which investor, Indian or foreign, will really look at that sector? So one needs to create instruments that go 20, 25 years out, okay, at a fixed interest rate regime with some foreign exchange hedge as well. Because if you're raising some foreign currency, there's foreigners coming in, they don't want to have all their gains wiped out on the back
Because
of
of
a
the
currency
currency
decline.
Yeah.
So there's got to be predictability, because these projects are projects for 100 years. These projects are not projects for like a 2 year or 3 years. And it's not a business where you can say that at the end of the quarter I'm going to push more product out of the door to the warehouse and book sales. It doesn't happen like that. So the nature of the beast has to be understood by people in all the stakeholders, which includes the government, the banking sector, companies, okay, the legal system. Everything has to come together in a manner where we say, okay, let's fix this once and for all, because our need for infrastructure is dire. All right, the gap is only widening. The last 6-7 years, arguably, have been the worst in terms of our recent history, and it's possible to fix it. And I think the government is looking at it, but the fear is it's happening in a bit of a patchy manner.
Right.
Somebody needs to take a holistic view of it, look at it completely top down,
Okay.
and fix whatever needs to be
So
fixed.
that's fixing the framework, the
Echo,
rules,
echo.
yeah, everything. But what about the money? Finding the money for infrastructure? Because I mean, the government isn't spending. The government is.
Money is there.
I mean,
Money is in India, money
Right,
is everywhere.
Yeah,
Right.
I was going to say that I think this is about demand and supply and financing all coming together. So on the demand side, I think it's very important to be very clear about the priorities. So you mentioned energy, you could look at sort of roads, you could look at digital, but being clear about the priorities. And I think particularly some of the new priorities are really interesting because you can actually create new rules and new games of how to do things, which aren't always encumbered by some of the legacy problems that India's had. On the supply side, I think it's important that if you look at many sort of countries, if they get the construction sector really humming, you get repeat experience, you build up the skills, the project management capabilities begin to flow. And then, as we've been saying, you must have long-term financing. It's
You know,
no
but
good.
the problem is, I think the skill is there. I mean, we have world-class companies who build world-class projects around the world, but the fact is now they're in trouble. I mean, in terms of financial parameters. So you need to. How do you fix that? I mean, how does that happen? Companies have been trying to deleverage, for example, sell
Just to-
assets. But what's the solution?
Just to jump in there for a minute, I think the government is also looking aggressively at employment. People have to understand that after agriculture, construction is the second largest employment
No, I
sector.
completely agree. But what's the solution? How do you? What's the
So
answer?
people have to look at, like, there's a lot of focus on manufacturing in India right now, on this whole Make India push. The same approach needs to be taken for the infrastructure of the construction sector. It needs to be completely looked at as a mission. All right, and the employment potential of this sector is massive.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that is being underrated and not being really understood for the extent of the impact it can have on the economy.
Simply pay the money you owe them.
Yeah. Pay
That's
who
it.
the money? Pay
All the contractors,
All the contractors.
all the infrastructure companies convert their loans into more long term. And then, of course, we have to cut interest rates. There's no getting away
Okay, let
from
me
it.
ask you this. Do you think the government, apart from creating the framework for getting private sector in, needs to start spending? I mean,
Also.
yeah, because there's a
See, the amount of infrastructure to be built in India to provide 300 million jobs in the next 20 years in order to create that kind of an economy, which is twice the size of America, is going to be a huge task. With government, private,
No,
everybody
you're
has
talking
to be
about
in
the
it.
long term. I'm saying getting the cycle started.
Cy-
The private sector isn't coming in because it can't. The government is not. It
Private
can.
sector, it
If
can come, it's
yeah.
hesitating to
Yes,
come in
yes.
because it's not seeing the kind of predictability and feeling the assurance of predictability. For example,
Not even now, after the new
you do
government?
away with the new government has created the hope, and we have very serious trust that this government, led by Prime Minister Modi, will certainly do it. It clearly has the desire, it has the capability, and it has the will. As he said, some of the issues are still not tackled. If they take it as a mission to tackle, then they will tackle it like they have done other cases.
Just to add on top of that, I think the highway sector is seeing a lot of cash contracts where the government is going to be paying contractors. So the highway sector seems to be getting some traction. But highways alone is not infrastructure. It's urban development, it's power, it's ports, it's airports. So while everything is being looked at, I think the core issues need to be addressed before we start announcing grand plans. Otherwise, the plans will be announced, the bids will go out based on a faulty foundation, and then the whole thing will crumble again. That's what we don't want to have happen.
Yeah, and I think the critical thing here is being more outcome focused in terms of being very clear about what are the outcomes that we're trying to achieve. To do that, you need to leverage up public sector monies with private sector monies. That's the way that you're actually going to get more infrastructure actually being built.
I mean, give me an example.
So basically, if you take something like, for example, the Delhi-Mumbai corridor, you know that you're going to put a certain amount of public monies into building that corridor. If you can then leverage that up around sort of certain industrial hubs with private sector money, you get a much better effect. You put that together with a more predictable sort of process and long-term financing, and then you have the predictability of certain well-defined outputs. And the thing that people are looking for with the long-term financing is long-term guaranteed returns, which means that you can't afford projects to be late. So you therefore need the government to have clear rules of engagement and make sure that those projects then don't overrun. Because the moment they overrun, you put some of the long-term financing at risk.
What do you think is going
It's
to...
the implementation risks
Yeah.
assurance,
Yeah.
not by giving you a guarantee, but by the process itself. You know that there will be no implementation risk. Business risk, everybody is willing to
No
take.
impediments.
Impediments. Or cancellations, or changes, application of new rules and laws retrospectively to that same thing. This has to end, and there has to be a signal about
If-
that.
if we are to
But,
get a-
you know, I want
yeah.
to point out, much as the road sector has got going, even in the EPC contracts, there are not that many people coming up to take those contracts for the simple reason they're incapacitated and don't trust.
Okay. I mean, in the road sector, for example, now the government is talking about viability cap funding for certain type of projects. Tolls, I guess, are out of the picture
See, those,
now. I mean,
there's
we can
no,
get into the sub...
L&T, the
yes.
biggest of them all, has said we cannot do it. So leave it.
Okay.
So I don't want to speak for L&T,
Yeah.
but there is a problem.
There is a problem.
That to get financial closure is not possible. It's not that they cannot do it. It has become difficult. And there's also fear of unnecessary exposure. But that's out anyways. That needs to be fixed in a very big way, which is a different process. But even construction contracts, people feel afraid to take.
Is there a demand problem at all in the sector? I mean, do you feel...
That's as far from reality as you
not
could
in the
ever get.
Not in
Yeah.
the very long term. Of course, we need more infrastructure.
No,
but at this
immediately.
stage,
Immediately.
I mean, there's no demand.
There's no demand
No,
issue.
And
But
effective prices. I mean, for example, in various sectors, power, roads. I mean, there's no problem. I mean,
there's no demand is not a problem. Supply is the problem.
okay, all right.
Even when you talk about pricing, when you look at the price that all people in India, as the Prime Minister himself said, he wants to make India generator free. Presuming that he's mentioning that everybody is running on backup generation, how much is it costing everybody? It's costing everybody 15, 18, 20 rupees.
Yeah.
So it's not that people don't have the ability to pay, they just want real-time, good quality power 24/7.
Mark?
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the benefits of investing in good infrastructure, particularly if you put it also into digital, is that you actually get more efficiency, for example, in energy systems, and you actually save money that way. So I think if you take a sort of holistic approach to some of the infrastructure sort of spend, particularly if you put it into some of the digital, you actually get a better return on some of the physical infrastructures, whether that is in terms of the roads, the buildings, the ports. So I think there's a blend here of digital and physical coming together, and that's the way I think you end up actually creating efficiency, which at the end of the day saves the country money and actually I think makes the country more productive.
I'm going to ask all of you to just name one sector which you think will really boom if you were to get this big infrastructure cycle. I'm saying going to roads, ports, power projects, railways. I mean, just pick one you think is going to do very well this year. This time around. One or two. I mean, last time around was roads, right? I mean, did very well. Was a darling sector. What is it this time?
To me, I think right now, firstly, we have a government that's finally listening. So we're quite happy to talk about all the things we're talking about because we know it'll be taken in the right way. Okay, it's not going to be looked
What is the
at.
sense you're getting? Which is
The sense that we are getting clearly is highways is moving and the railway sector. The expectation is very high. We have a good minister in place who's known to have done some path-breaking things. We're hearing all the right noises. I expect that the railway sector actually is going to surprise everyone.
I think if they get the policies right and create predictability, all sectors will do
Give me
well.
one. You one or two.
I'm in all sectors and I'd like all of them. I don't.
I would bet on the digital sector because I think digital is a very powerful enabler, not just for the sort of the physical infrastructure, but also for the population as well. And whilst it won't be the biggest piece of infrastructure investment, I think it's a critical enabler going forward.
Thanks very much, all of you.
Mixing the digital with the physical.
Thanks very much, all of you.
Okay, pleasure.
Mr. Gulabchan, Ajit, Atul, thank you. Thank you.